So buying Florida land can be one of the most scary and rewarding things all at the same time. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the important things you need to know when buying Florida land. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to be talking about 8 things you need to know when buying Florida land. Some of these are going to be very obvious and some maybe not so obvious. All right, number 1 is mineral rights. So I've got over 400 parcels of land. I have bought and sold over 400 parcels of land. Some I'm holding on to right now and seller financing and collecting payments on every single month. Sometimes we're paid multiple times a day for our land. Now, out of these 400 plus parcels of land, I do not own the mineral rights on any of them. There's a reason for this, because people go up and buy up these mineral rights. Companies buy up these mineral rights. Oil companies, mining companies buy these mineral rights. And let me tell you why these mineral rights get purchased. So a lot of Florida land used to be cattle country and then maybe went to orange groves. And then when the orange groves kind of moved out of Florida, they're still here, but a lot of times they'll go back to cattle ranches. Well, like these landowners are sometimes very land rich and cash poor. So they might get a knock on their door or a letter in the mail saying, hey, we will purchase your mineral rights from you. And they don't care. The land was probably passed down from, great-great-grandfather. So they'll sell these mineral rights and get some cash in their pockets to continue their cattle operation or their orange grove or their farm operation. So it helps them get a little stimulus in their own local, family. Well, you buying this land and maybe building attractive houses on it, you might not own underneath the land. This is mineral rights, and then someone could possibly come in and start, drilling for oil or mining it. So you want to understand who owns the mineral rights for this. Number 2, we're talking about Florida here. We want to know where the wetlands are. Pretty much all of Florida is wetlands. So, Disney World was built right on wetlands. They actually drained the property and dug all these retention ponds, and anywhere you see cypress trees with the cypress knees growing up out of the ground, because these are the roots of the cypress trees, they need fresh air, they need oxygen, so they grow above the ground, and this shows you how high the water level can go at any time. So you want to get something called a wetland delineation or a wetland survey or a study, and your surveyor can help you out with this, but you want to know what percentage of the land is wetland. Sometimes you get lucky and it's none at all. But the good thing about Florida is we have a lot of what's called sugar sand or sand. So this water percolates pretty well, and it usually passes perk tests. So a lot of times you can just build up the land by digging a pond or getting dirt brought in. We call this fill dirt, and we can build up the house. Like when my parents built their house in 2004, they ended up having to pull in 77 truckloads of dirt, and luckily they were able to dig a pond on their property, and they had to build up the pad 6 foot. It had to be level with the road. All right, number 3, a lot of people do not think about this, but what is the weather like? And you're probably thinking to yourself actually, it's Florida, it's hot, it's humid. Well, let me tell you, there's certain parts of Florida that are way hotter than other areas. We call it sea breeze and land breeze. So certain times of the day, the water is coming off the ocean, which is sea breeze. Other times of the day, air is coming off of the ocean across the water and cooling off. That's called the sea breeze. Other parts of the day, usually at the end of the day, it's called a land breeze. A land breeze comes across the land, it cools the land off, but it takes that heat and blows it on you. So there's certain parts of the state, we're in the middle of the state, where you don't get the sea breeze. It's way hotter in the summertime. Also gets a little colder during the wintertime. So you want to know these things. Me personally, we live very close to the water. We're about maybe 12 minutes as the crow flies next to the ocean. And that gives us quite a bit of good breeze. Now, if we take that 12 minutes and go on the ocean, we get even cooler by just going next to the ocean, because it's usually coming across the ocean. Next is water. How are you gonna get your water? Is it city water? Is it local community water? Or do you need to put a well into the ground? The good thing about Florida is most of the time you only have to go about 40 to 90 feet to hit a good aquifer to get fresh, good water. But there's one thing you need to know about in Florida, is we have a lot of sulfur water. The best way to explain what sulfur water is like, it's like having a bunch of rotten eggs in your house and you smash them all over the place. That is what sulfur smells like. So my first house I purchased in 2007 at age 21, I would take a shower at like 5 a.m. in the morning, and I would go to work, and I would come home about 4:30 p.m. and my house would smell like rotten eggs from that shower. So I had to install what was called a water treatment system or a water softener system, and my water would be misted into a big tank, a big white tank, and then when I wanted to use the water, it would use another pump to pump it into my house. So that mister system got rid of that sulfur. It allowed it to aerate. And that's the best, easiest way to get rid of sulfur, as well as a water softener system. But you want to know that where you're going out in Florida. A lot of places are used via well water. Next, are you going to have a septic system, or are you going to cook into the community sewer system? A lot of houses in Florida are still on septic systems. So you want to know, is there a local community sewer system, or would you be actually using septic? Electric. How are you going to get your electric? The best way is to figure out by calling the local electric company. You know, Florida Power and Light is the largest electric company. Then you got Duke Energy, then you got Glades Electric. You want to figure out a local realtor. Anybody in the community can probably tell you who the electrical, or even if you're looking at a piece of land, you can ask the neighbor, who is your electric provider, and you can call and figure out, you know, and get a price. Because like, for instance, going back to my parents' house that they built, they ended up having to get 7 electric poles dropped. That was quite a distance. It was several thousands of dollars to bring in electric for that property. Guys, smash that like button and let's keep rolling. And if you really, really want to give me an extra tip, hit that subscribe button. I come out with these videos 5 days a week. Number 7, what does your house pad need to look like? How much dirt do you need to bring in? And I briefly mentioned this already with like 77 truckloads of dirt. A lot of times we have to build up the house pad in Florida because we want to keep the house out of water. There's one thing that we get a lot of in Florida, and that is a lot of rain, and then we get tropical storms, and sometimes we get hurricanes that bring in a lot of water. The water is where the devastation happens. A lot of oak trees fall over not because of the wind. Well, actually the wind does have something to do with it, but the water saturates the ground and it just gets really mushy, and the roots get saturated, and eventually with that wind pushing over, that will push that tree over. The same thing with our house. We want our house sitting out of the water. We don't want that house sitting in the water or flooding or coming in. So a lot of times you have to actually build up the house pad. All right, for next, number 8, and finally, this one's gonna save you the most money, and that is, what is the actual property classified for? Is it vacant, residential only, or is it currently classified as agriculture or agricultural exemption? If it's not, I'm going to show you multiple ways that you can get agricultural exemption on your property and dramatically reduce your property taxes in Florida. The reason why people love Florida is we have no state income tax. However, we do kind of have high property taxes, but I'm going to show you one way to get those property taxes to go down. At one time, I actually lost my agricultural exemption on my 14 acres out in Florida, and my taxes almost tripled. Well, I got it back very quickly. It was just a misunderstanding. We actually cut the sod off the land, and then we let the land sit for a little while to get the grass back before we put cattle on it. Well, some of those areas got a little too high, and the agricultural exemption guy was going around, riding around, you know, getting in people's business, and jacked my prices up, and we caught it, but we were able to get it back because we had an explanation of why there was no cattle on the land. But there's multiple other ways besides cattle to get agricultural exemption, and I'm going to go through a list. And this list came from FloridaAgriculturalClassification.com if you want to go and get access to the list. So I'm giving them the credit for this, but I'm going to actually read it off to you because there's a lot of powerful things, ways that you can actually make money with agriculture and also save money on your taxes by getting agricultural exemption. All right, so the first is apiculture, and that is beekeeping. You know, you might be deathly afraid of bees, and let me tell you, I was too at one time, and my wife a couple of years ago got me a bee box, and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, you know, you're always saying face your fears, right? Do what you fear most. So I did. I went to the local beekeeper down the street. I took a bee hiving class, B101, and I got a thing of bees. I ordered them, put them in, and I got so comfortable. I was going out in like shirts like this with shorts and flip-flops. I was tending these bees. They were the coolest things ever. And then we ended up moving. We ended up moving from one place to another. And I heard that bees come back at nighttime, right? So I had a Honda Civic at this time. So we had already moved. I needed to get the bees. It was the last thing I needed. It was just one hive, super simple, right? What can go wrong? Well, I get all these bees in, It's nighttime, and I staple a screen around the beehive. I completely enclosed it because I didn't want them getting out while I'm driving my car. And this time I was suited up. I was wearing my gloves, my bee hat, my bee boots, everything. And I carefully placed these bees in the back seat of my Honda Civic, and I had 1 hour to go. I'm like playing classical music for these things on the way down, trying not to hit any bumps. And thank God I wasn't killed by bees driving down the highway at 75 miles an hour. I get out at my new house, it's 58 acres in Colorado, and I pull these bees out, and the screen had come undone. And these bees, I can hear them like just the box I thought was gonna lift off from the ground. So they start stinging me, and I'm wearing my suit. They're getting through it, and it's the middle of the night. And ever since then, for 2 years, I was never able to work these bees again without full suit and smoke until the bear finally just destroyed them all. So that was the end of my beekeeping career. But yeah, so that's one way to get agriculture exemption. The next is aquaculture, and I'm gonna read directly from my computer on this. That is farming of aquatic organisms such as fish, mollusks, I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, aquatic plants. Some consider as a part of aquaculture. I felt it was important to include this because some counties' properties with this use have been classified as agriculture. The next is aquaponics. This refers to any system that combines orthodox aquaculture, raising aquatic animals such as snails and fish and crawfish and piranhas. I just added that part. Aviculture, the practice of keeping and breeding birds. That can get you agricultural classification in some counties. So whatever your thing is, you might absolutely hate cows, or you might be a vegetarian. You can plant vegetables rather than raising cattle. Equine, you might be a horse lover. Forestry, you can literally get paid sometimes to plant trees on your property. A friend of mine has a lot of land in, I believe it's South Dakota. They paid them to plant the whole property, and they also get agriculture exemption. Fruit orchards, you know, like orange trees, grapefruit trees, grazing, that's the cattle. What is found much throughout Florida are cattle ranches for slaughter or starter cattle. Some people want to consider horses or goats for pasture grazing, but they have their own categories. Hydroponics, this is the method of growing plants without soil and using mineral nutrient salt solutions in water solvent. And nurseries, and this can be a lot of different plants. Poultry, chickens, turkeys, raw crop, production of crops, miscellaneous, Everglades Agriculture Area, EAA mining lands. I don't even know what that is, but you can research it here. Viticulture, canine, I guess that's dogs, and exotic animals coming soon. So I hope that helps you understand there's so many ways to get agriculture exemption on your property. Those are the 8 things you definitely absolutely want to know about buying land in Florida before you buy it. Guys, my name is Brent Bowers. I've done over 400 land transactions, and it has absolutely changed my life. It allowed me to get out of the military. I was going to work at like 6 a.m. and getting home most of the time after 7 p.m. after dark. I had to do multiple combat deployments. I was always away, always training, always deploying, and always just gone away from my family. I ultimately stumbled into land investing, which gave me financial freedom and time freedom and geography freedom to be able to go to take my children to school each day and pick them up, to go on dates with my wife again. Land investing changed my life, and if you too are looking for a change in your life and a person to hold your hand throughout the process, I want you to go right now to thelandsharks.com, fill out a form, schedule a call, and if me and my team like what you have to say, we might even invite you into our tribe.